Hi, this is Heidi Hutner, and I'm here today with Shameika Hanson, who works with Clearwater, Pete Seeger's organization, which does a lot of efforts on preserving our environment. And Pete Seeger had a history, he's no longer alive. He died just a couple of years ago in his 90s, but he was a major environmental advocate and is one of the people who's responsible for the Clean Water Act. So Shameika's here with us today, and she's actually a former student of mine and a Stony Brook University grad in the Environmental Humanities major and Sustainability Studies program. And Shameika now works with Clearwater, and Clearwater is this incredible, you do incredible advocacy work, right? There's the sailing ship that was Pete's, called the Clearwater, that goes down the river, Hudson River, and does education, and you just do a whole list of things. And I wanted to just hear what you guys are up to these days.
So these days in particular, we are really trying to work on restoring the sloop. So Pete's vision was that we would have the boat sailing up and down the Hudson River, right, for as many years as we could keep it. Historically, the sloops were blown up and left at the bottom of the river because they cost too much to restore as wooden boats. So once the sloops kind of started phasing out and people didn't want to take them out of the water, they had nowhere to put them, they'd blow them up. If you ever did like a navigational or historical view of the river, they have on maps pinpoints and plots where there are blown up ships at the bottom of the Hudson. So this year in particular, we are restoring the boat out of the water up in Kingston in New York. We have a whole crew of maintenance people who are working every day very hard on bringing the boat back to life. It is a part of a restoration that was mandated by the US Coast Guard, and it's about an $850,000 job this year. So the work that's being done is the restoration, but we are also in the process of attempting to fundraise to continue to do this work, as it is not the final part of the restoration phase. We still have a little bit more to go.
And what happens on the ship? I've been on it with students and kids, and I know there's a lot of environmental education that takes place. And what's sort of the vision of doing that? I mean, why did Pete want that boat on the river, and what was his goal in having that education take place?
So Pete lived in the Hudson Valley. And at the time that he lived there, the Hudson River was extremely dirty. It was filled with sewage and chemicals that had been dumped in there and a whole host of things. Garbage, PCBs from GE. We have Indian Point Power Plant that's there. There's a lot going on in the Hudson River. It's a pretty long river. And he wanted to go swimming. And he just thought it was a beautiful place, and he wanted other people to see that too. So as the story I was told is that he stumbled across some books that Henry Hudson had actually had, his diary, and he read up on the sloops and how the valley used to be, and he wanted to return it to that. So he and his friends did a series of concerts to raise money to build a boat to take folks out on the water, because it's, as you know, a completely different experience when you're on the river than when you're looking at it from the land. And the reason why we bring people still out on the river is because we could educate anyone from the shores. But it's a much different experience when you're doing it on the actual water, and it gives people a different level of appreciation when they're on the water, and then they're receiving the history and the background and the ecology and just learning about the Hudson. It's an absolutely unique experience, and you really have to be on the boat to fully engage and understand, the education aspect of it.
Right. I know what you're talking about. I've been on the boat and I've seen them pull up, the crew pulls up water and animals, and they talk about what's growing in the water, what's not, the ecology. It's really extraordinary. And they have these programs for kids of all ages, for kids of all backgrounds, a lot of environmental justice pieces behind that to bring kids from the inner cities onto the ship to have a sense of what it's like. It's really extraordinary and so beautiful. And it's an old boat, right? It's all made out of wood. It's
all wood. Because it is in mostly, goes between fresh and salt water, because the Hudson River, flows north and south. And, we have to, the crew, not me, because I do not want to take any credit for what I'm not doing. They wash the deck every morning with salt water to maintain the wood. When they clean the crew area down at the bottom in the hold, they're using like toothbrushes and cleaning in between the boards, the floorboards. They wipe each individual slab of wood on the floor to clean it up. Our crew takes very good care of the boat, and we're a member organization. So anyone who's been on the boat, the saying is that it's now your boat too. Anyone who's been on the boat, it's their boat. And you're always welcome to come on and be an onboard educator. We have volunteer,
And
you know, weeks.
You have women's programs for young
We have
women.
Yeah, we have 2 youth at the helm programs. It's one for women, one for young men. They come on to the boat for about 4 days and 3 nights. They do not spend the nights on the boat. They camp on shore with, you know, adults. I'm one of the awesome adults they camp with. And they learn everything from sailing to history to ecology to navigation to, they come out and they're sailing the boat. After like 4 days, they are completely doing all the lines, they are docking the boat. It is absolutely amazing.
So we want to get this boat back in the water.
We want to get this boat back on the water. That program is free to those students. We fundraise for it. That program is for low-income students who want the experience, and their schools may not take them on the boat because they can't afford it, or they may just be too far, and it may not be a stop that we necessarily dock at, and they just want to be a part of Clearwater. And we bring about 14 girls and men on the boat at different times, different weeks. And it's an amazing experience. You actually kind of have to be there with them to really see how much they learn in those 4 days. It's mind-blowing how much they learn. They get an amazing education on that boat during those 4 days.
So it seems like Clearwater's vision is to take care of the river.
Absolutely.
And to educate the community around the river.
Absolutely.
To take care of it as well, and why and how to do that. And it seems like there's a lot of advocacy. There's another piece that we've been to together, which is the Clearwater Festival. And I know that you have the Green Cities tent, and part of the vision at the festival, and there's music, because of course Pete Seeger was a musician, and it was through music that he educated for nonviolence, for peace, for the environment, for equality, for women's rights, all those issues that he saw as tied together. But at the festival, we're here, it's all music. There's a huge component that is environmental. Could you talk about that?
So our festival is probably one of the only festivals that our mission, our aim is to have an environmental component. It's not just music. It's very much a family-friendly place to go and camp and learn and just have fun. It's
and
amazing.
Work together. Everyone works together.
Yes, it's amazing. I have volunteers who come by themselves, knowing that they don't know anyone, but that they'll meet people and it'll be like a family once they get there. And that's exactly what happens. So you
Last year,
mentioned,
you were the full volunteer coordinator.
yeah, quite the experience.
How many? 1,000
It
plus?
takes 1,000 volunteers to make the festival happen, between the coordinators and all the actual, areas that people are working in.
It's huge.
Yeah, our
It's a big
security's
festival.
biggest area.
Yeah.
It's about almost 200 people just in peacekeeping. So it takes a lot, but as you know, everyone in Clearwater kind of just, when things need to be done, they buckle down and all hands on deck, and everyone literally gets the job done.
And you're in this beautiful park.
Beautiful park, Croton Point Park.
And you see the Clearwater ship sailing by.
Yep, we have both boats docked. The Mystic Whaler comes down from Connecticut to help us with our sailing programs during the spring and summer. They'll be doing that again this year, as they have been. And they both dock and sail at the park during the festival. We offer public sails all day, all weekend. And it's amazing. You could do kayaking. We have canoeing, just paddle boarding.
People camping at the
people
festival.
Camping.
And then there are these volunteers who work specifically on educating the general public there
Yes.
about a variety of environmental issues.
That's our environmental action.
So you had fracking education, PCB education.
Indian Point.
Indian Point, which is now
Desalination,
leaking.
yes.
A lot into the river, the tritium, desalination issues, air quality, and then there was a whole kind of redoing your home.
Energy retrofits
Energy
to the homes,
retrofitting,
yes.
yes.
So as you just mentioned, our environmental action department has a lot going on. And the EA director, Manna, Joe Green,
Who's wonderful.
who is absolutely wonderful, who was part of my introduction to Clearwater, one of the few people who I met and worked with prior to actually being a full-time employee there. And she has her plate full.
And she's also a politician, isn't she?
She is also a legislator. She has a lot going on. Manna is truly from the era of action. She comes from the Martin Luther Kings and the Rosa Parks. That's where Manna rests all the time. She never stops. And currently, I'm not sure, how many people are aware, but Indian Point, the nuclear power plant located up in Buchanan, right on the Hudson River, has been found to be leaking tritium.
Massive amounts
Massive
of tritium.
amounts. And we are continuing the fight, but this is just giving us some more momentum. It's been in the news, and this isn't the first time it's leaked. There's been multiple times prior that we have
And it's had shutdowns. And
it's had shutdowns. We do not use all the power from it. We're really just receiving the poor end of the stick. New York City is right, 25 to 50 miles out from Indian Point. And it was suggested that if we did have an evacuation, it would be a 50-mile radius of an evacuation. So we're talking about parts of Long Island, we're talking about New York City, Rockland County, New Jersey, parts of Connecticut. Westchester is gone. These are millions of people. New York City alone, I think it's 8.2 million.
It's a 20 million population that they're concerned about.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are really hoping that folks in the area join in with us to advocate to have this very, very, very old facility decommissioned.
Safely.
As safely as possible, but also as quickly as possible. And as you know, we have a nuclear storage issue right now in the United States. Where we're putting these things, I don't know. But we need to get rid of it, and we need to phase out from this fossil fuel.
Certainly don't want to keep producing it.
Gosh, no, we really don't.
Yeah.
And everyone says, they say, oh, it's just a small possibility of problems compared. But I'm like, if one thing goes wrong, which we've clearly seen it's going wrong, there are millions of people whose lives are at risk, and we really don't want another Fukushima on the Hudson.
So this is something that Manna Joe's working very hard on.
Yes, very diligently, day and night. I get emails at 2 a.m. Manna does not sleep. Manna doesn't sleep. Sounds like someone I know, Heidi.
I don't sleep very much myself.
No, I know.
So we have to end, but I just want to, any closing words you want to tell us about Clearwater? It's what's amazing to me, I must say, is that I grew up in the era of Pete Seeger. I was a little girl, but I was at his concerts and it was so inspired. And I had a chance to actually march with him before he died at an Occupy event. It was a Clearwater concert, and got to march with him down to 67th Street with a bunch of really amazing singers and musicians, all that were part of the Clearwater family. And it's just, I'm so proud to have you involved there, and and that this vision's continuing. Some people worried that with Pete not there, how would Clearwater go on? Of course, we know that's not true, but it's just great to see young people actively involved, working, carrying it on, doing the work, bringing in environmental justice issues, which I know is really dear to his heart and important to me, and to you and to so many. So thank you so much for doing this work, and I encourage you in it, and I encourage young folks to get involved. I know more and more people are. So it's just wonderful to see that light of his is still really shining.
I says, you know this song. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season. Sing it. And the whole audience sing, turn, turn, turn. There is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Time to be born, a time to die. Sing it.